You're listening to the 10-Minute Bible Hour podcast. It's fast, fun, free, daily deep dive Bible, and right now we're working on the book of Nehemiah. If you're new, welcome. You can jump in right here, or you can always go back and start at the beginning of any season. The whole podcast is available in an easy-to-use format at thetmbh.com.
I really love those Guardians of the Galaxy movies. I think they transcend the whole Marvel thing. They stand on their own. What a wonderful trilogy. And they're space comedies, right? I don't know, maybe it doesn't count as a comedy, but they are. There's more funny stuff in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies than there is in movies that actually hold themselves out as being comedies. So I'm going to say they're space comedies. They made me laugh a lot. I really liked them. And one of my favorite things that happened in the third one, that as I'm recording this came out, I don't know, a year ago, something like that, is Nathan Fillion, the beloved actor, is in the show for just a minute, and he's a baddie. He's at this space base, and you expect people with dark helmets who have no personalities and just do whatever the Overlord says. But instead, immediately, the bad guys are humanized because we discovered that Nathan Fillion, who supervises a little cadre of a security detail or something, he has a guy he thinks is an idiot on his squad. And the idiot guy, he might not actually be an idiot. I think he's super insecure and wants to be accepted with the rest of the guys, but he's on the outs socially. And the desperate things that this person who's on the outs keeps doing, it drives Nathan Fillion's character crazy. And so he ribs this insecure guy by being like, I got that brand new Fuselix core. You know what I'm talking about? And the other guys all nod, and he's like, oh, yeah. And Nathan Fillion's like, that's funny because I just made it up. And the guy's like, I thought you said something different. And it's so humanizing and so funny and so simple, because I kind of think we all know how that works, and we all know what the sycophantic guy who feels that the only way he can be accepted is to agree with whatever the main guy says and just please accept me and like me. I'll think anything. I'll pile on and just say additional words to make you happy and basically repeat anything you say. Please accept me. Please like me. And I feel like we get a character like that right here in Nehemiah 4. I think that's how Tobiah the Ammonite comes off in trying to effusively agree with the main bad guy, Sanballat, to make it clear, like, whatever you think, oh yeah, I'm totally with you on that for sure. Maybe I'm just making things up and wanted to talk about Guardians of the Galaxy 3 and that really funny scene that I liked. Could be both, could be one or the other. Let's find out. Nehemiah 4 verse 1. When Sanballat heard that they were rebuilding the wall, he became angry. It was greatly incensed. He ridiculed the Jews, and in the presence of his associates and the army of Samaria, he said, what are those feeble Jews doing? Will they restore their wall? Will they offer sacrifices? Will they finish in a day? Can they bring the stones back to life from those heaps of rubble, burned as they are? And then this next part is where it gets awesome. Verse 3. Tobiah the Ammonite, who was by his side, said, yeah, the yeah is mine. The rest is from the actual Bible. What they're building? If even a fox climbed up on it, he'd break down their wall of stones. I imagine a long, awkward silence as Sanballat closes his eyes, inhales and exhales deeply, and slowly turns to look at Tobiah the Ammonite to maybe say something like, good one, Tobiah. Now, you recall that early on in the book of Nehemiah, it was mostly first person. I did this, I was cupbearer to the king, etc. And then here in chapter 4, this is third person. Somebody else is writing this about Nehemiah. Nehemiah is a character in the story. And I suppose chapter 3 that we just looked at is the same way, the account of all the people doing all the work and what part they worked on. So this has a little different tone. I don't know who wrote it. It's not credited, but you really get the sense from the way that's written that whoever's writing this down is suggesting that Tobiah was a sycophantic idiot. That this guy threw in this completely unnecessary, yeah, and it's also exactly like that kind of comment, because it goes on from there and there's just nothing more. That's the end of the comments of the bad guys. I think it is absolutely meant to characterize them as buffoons. There's really only one dude here who's competent. He runs off his mouth. Everybody else just wants to make him happy and prop him up. Probably deep down, he resents how stupid they are, even as they try to give him what he wants. Maybe I'm reading into that too much, but I kind of don't think I am, because that mockery is garbage. It is some of the worst, least creative, non-biting, least hurtful mockery ever. And I don't think people back then were dumb. I think they knew incompetent, insecure mockery when they heard it, and I think that is what's going on here. But let's just contrast this, right? You got this Sanballat guy, And he sees the walls getting built. We've only heard from him a couple times. We know that he's fussy about it. We know that he's from a rival people group of the Jews. We know that he's got a rival narrative. We know that he wants to build a rival temple. And now he's jealous and he's angry because for whatever reason, the Jews have caught the eye of the King of Kings, Artaxerxes, and they have the favor of the throne and the royal treasury behind them. And frankly, Sanballat and his team does not have that. They've been there for maybe 100 years as a family, maybe more, faithfully serving these kings, and they haven't received permission to do anything like this. Maybe their narrative's actually pretty good and they have every reason to be mad, and maybe you would be mad if you were in his shoes as well. Maybe I would be mad, but even if it's justifiable, Sanballat and his buddies just do not come off well here. As they hear that the wall's getting rebuilt, they're angry and greatly incensed. He ridicules the Jews, and he's doing it in front of everybody. So he's blustering and gossiping, and what are they doing? They're trying to build their wall, offer sacrifice. What are they going to finish in a day? Can they bring stones back to life? I kind of like that line. We should talk about that a little bit more. And just think about the contrast here, my friends, between the thinkers and doers of chapter 3, a list of people, not one of whom receives a single quote in chapter 3. It's just people doing stuff. That's it. And then we turn the page here to chapter 4, and we contrast that with the impotence of Sanballat. He and his family have maybe been in a position of leadership here for maybe up to a century, and they haven't got anything done. They haven't built anything. While they were there, the walls were still knocked down and the gates were still burned out. They haven't gone and built some great city somewhere else. No, what Sanballat and his buddies are good at is jeering at the man in the arena, jeering at the person who tries, jeering at the people who had been once and then have been on tough times, and who knows, maybe someday will be again. But this guy is really good at saying why they're idiots and why their thing is dumb. And what do you know? What kind of person does that attract? When the product you exude, when the thing that you give off, the chief output of your communication is complaining about other people who try, who does that attract? I can tell you who it repels: people who try. People who do things. Those who complain and gripe about other people trying stuff are absolutely repellent in every way to people who try to do stuff. And they're absolutely attractive to people who are covered in insecurity and are trying to look for a narrative that they can live with to explain why they haven't done anything. I think Tobiah is exactly that guy. And I think it is, dare I say, a gift from God that this was written down and recorded for us. It would have been an effective passage, even if the last little bit of nervous agreement and the awful mockery from Tobiah had been left out, but it's so much better because it was included. It gives us a picture of this stoogey opposition, which, as we'll see, is still an opposition to take seriously. I mean, these are people with arms and hands and muscles and brains, and they can pick up a tool or a weapon and cause a whole lot of problems. But the author of the text is holding them out as insecure idiots whose impotence and accomplishing of nothing, whose running of mouths while building nothing, is contrasted directly with the 32 verses before that tell the story of a whole bunch of people who didn't really need a whole bunch of credit, just kicking butt and getting things done. Obviously, we're not done looking at these people and how Nehemiah is going to respond to them. We'll talk about that a bunch more coming up. But finally, I've got 2 announcements today, and they're both pretty important. The first of those is that I know what book of the Bible we're going to do next, and I'm going to now tell you in 3 seconds. 3, 2, it's Galatians. Look at that. Under promise, over deliver. I told you in like 1.5 seconds. I didn't even make you wait as long. Galatians. We're going to do Galatians next. Why? Because Galatians is a wonderful bridge book of the Bible from the exilic era that we're looking at here, the era of Ezra, Nehemiah, and Esther, and the cultural and religious realities that came out of this for the Jewish people that set the table for the world of Jesus a few hundred years later. Galatians is a book all about trying to sort through that in light of Jesus' life and death and his teachings and his miracles and all that stuff. What do we do with the stuff Jesus said and the reality of the kingdom of God as lived out and presented by Jesus, in contrast to the religious rigidity that was surely well-intentioned in the first place, but that metastasized into something weird and that didn't work in the ensuing centuries leading up to the time of Christ that Jesus found himself heavily at odds with. Galatians tries to sort out a reconciling of Jesus and his teaching with the world of religious thought that is beginning to be built here coming out of the books of Ezra and Nehemiah. So I think it's a natural place for us to go, having started in the New Testament, then having spent a bunch of time in the Old Testament, and now trying to better understand how the two fit together. Which brings me to announcement number 2. The Book of Matthew series that we did back in the day predated the super cool sticker system that we've introduced, whereby anybody who is supporting the program in any way at the time we send out the stickers is getting the gold outline "You've accomplished this achievement unlocked" sticker for the Book of Matthew. Of course, anybody at all who wants to just go and buy one, it's pretty cheap, which is shipping and handling or whatever. It's on the website. You can go and buy one with the white outline. And then, of course, for those of you who have gone ludicrously above and beyond in supporting this free program, you know who you are. I'm sending you a hologram version of that same sticker, which is super limited edition and which you can't get anywhere else, and which I think is absolutely beautiful. So we've done that with Esther. We sent those out. I'm working on one for Nehemiah, but somewhere in there, we got to get you the Matthew one. And that time is rapidly approaching. So if you want the Matthew Achievement Unlocked commemorative limited edition sticker, the thing that we're doing for all of these, the time is coming very quickly. Anybody who supports in any way on any platform at any level, we're going to pop one of those in a simple little basic envelope. This will be the easiest mailing that we've ever done in that regard because it's just a sticker. It's very easy. And we're going to fire that off to you here in the coming weeks as we get everything ready to go for that mailing. So if you want to get in on that, you can, of course, jump in and support at any level on any platform if you want to. And that way you will get one of those for free mailed to you. Also, it is totally cool for you not to support the podcast. I'm infinitely grateful that we get to do this thing together. All right. In summary, Matthew Achievement Unlocked stickers are getting ready to be shipped to anybody who supports at any level. And Galatians is the next book of the Bible that we are going to be covering in the next season. And it's kind of exciting. And we got to talk about the Nathan Fillion scene from Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I think we've had a lovely time together today, and I think we should just do it again tomorrow. All right. I'm Matt. This is the 10-Minute Bible Hour Podcast. Let's do this again soon.